kind of surprised with how dominant the Tristana has been. But then again, when the LeBlanc isn't going to be there, the Tristana loses a lot of the priority, and I feel like it's probably not the #1 AD carry for Weibo to go for either. So, but do we see this? I'd love to see it. It's a hacker classic. I like it when hacker's on a carry, when he can kind of just go ham. I feel like he's the kind of player who's very good at just going ham, but the Tristana does get picked up by the side of FPX here.
I'm sold. Even without LeBlanc being on either side, I think the Tristana, again, from what we've seen for the few days, has been just insane. I guess for Weibo, the thought process behind the Maokai, Hacker does have 100% win rate on it so far this split in 5 games. It is his most played champion. Still, though, I don't know if that really brings it full motion, especially without things like the Jace being able to come on through. We don't really know Xiaohu either as someone who's going to heavily opt into the AD soul laners, especially with Jace taken off the table, because that has been the only one he's played so far this split. So are just going to have to play around like the potential peel and engage that it does bring.
The thing about like just blinding the Tristana though is like Weibo could go for something like a Vex or a Cassiopeia in the mid lane, you know, and like just really bully the Tristana. Like there are matchups that just
then you send it back,
annihilate it. That's true.
Or I guess this would be more fitting if it was Weibo picking it up, because let's say with TheShy you can even send it top, right? Like his many days playing the AD carries in the top side, obviously Callista being the one that jumps to mind. But okay, we are going to get more standard coming on through with the Aphelios now picked up for Weibo, so kind of hints of the 1-4 still being able to come through and being able to peel it and play around light the same way that we saw FPX doing for LWX in Game 1. FPX still wanting to keep it very all-in centric with the Sejuani coming back through once again. And I like these bans, making sure that we don't get any of like these strong laning mid laners able to come out for Xiaohu. The fact you've already taken away LeBlanc. I mean, hell, the first 3 whole bans, right? All 3 champions incredibly strong in laning phase. Syndra just following suit with that. So looks like they want to make sure that Kair is able to have that same impact that he was able to find in Game 1 with these bans.
Surprise taken off the board as well. FPX, you anticipate them going for their support pick next and then leaving AD carry until last to still have the option for the flexibility. What other mid laners do they not want to play against? Obviously, the Syndra. In fact, no, just going to take the Lulu away instead.
I think they've kind of covered their bases. Like when you look at other things that Xiaohu's played so far this split, I mean, maybe he defaults back to like being more of setup with an Annie. He hasn't really played any AD champions like we highlighted earlier, like a Yone or anything we've seen Kair be able to bring out. So unless he has some hidden card up his sleeve, I think that this kind of just sets up for the Tristana mid.
I'm just saying, Rise got buffed. Okay, this is Xiaohu we're talking about. If there's one guy that would be willing to bring Rise back, it would be Xiaohu. I don't know if Rise is necessarily in a good spot, but did get buffed slightly, so
I don't expect this.
I'm just saying it's an option.
I don't expect us to be seeing any Rise. It would be interesting to see how it would work out. I think that Kair would definitely have a lot of freedom, but a ton of range now that FPX is going to be able to play off of with their double marksman. Not only turrets, but you have to worry about 20-minute Barons and things like that, which are obviously a staple here in the LPL. Teams definitely love to just try and sneak those away. We've actually seen a few losses just happen from that, even in the recent series we've had. So now we have to find the answer. What's Xiaohu going to play? Because kind of looking through the list of champions available, I don't know what he goes towards.
Oh, see is here. I thought it was going to be Cassiopeia. It would be such a good match for mid. You got tanks that you can burn through. I feel like this was the game, but let's go with the Azir in the end. Scaling, carry, can still build that Leandries and do that damage, and just try and survive the laning phase against the Tristana. I was surprised to see the AD carry locked in for FPX on 4 instead of saving that until the final pick, but wanting the support counter pick here. Looks like Chocho will play defensive on the Brawl.
Yeah, and for FPX, I mean, good. You have a bunch of like beefcake frontliners in front of your double marksmans. Again, you're great at taking objectives. Your front to back is going to be insane. And Weibo are opting into a very similar thing. At least you can have a bit more side pressure if the TheShy can get going. But with weiwei not really playing heavily around the TheShy from what we've seen, not only this series, but this split, that might put a damper on that. And despite the fact that Xiaohu, Azir's one of his most played champions in his career because he's been around for so long, I mean, since 2015, it's not really a champion you'd think of for Xiaohu, especially in his recent year stints, right? It's been more about proactivity, more about either the lane dominance of, like, again, things like the Syndra, or the utility you could bring on something like a Lissandra or a Taliyah. So I'm curious to see how Weibo are going to be able to play this one out when Xiaohu is going to have to play a little bit more far back. Sure, you have some options there with like the Shurima Shuffle to try to find a pick in the mid lane, but Tristana with having the rocket jump and the ulti is pretty safe from plays like that coming through.
We'll have to see if they can keep themselves safe. I will say, lane in phase for Azir against Tristana, not pretty. Not pretty at all. Xiaohu is going to have his work cut out. And so far, I mean, like, Xiaoalaohu has been finding advantages in the laning phase, or at least did in game 2 in this matchup. I don't know, I kind of like the draft from FPX, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I feel pretty good for FPX going into this one. And especially after seeing some of the team fight failures of Weibo in that first game. And Xiaohu on the Azir. I don't know. I'm feeling good for FPX, and FPX fans out there, maybe they should be feeling good too.
And you can tell by the way that Crisp fell asleep in the waiting room before this series that this is a really important matchup emotionally for him, up against LWX and vice versa, up against his old organization. It's going to be, you know, a lot on the line for every single player here today. You know that they probably couldn't sleep last night thinking about this series.
Why do you got to do this to Weibo like that? You know, I mean, you were actually talking about this earlier, right? And something that's not very widely discussed around LPL, which I get because it's something that's very hard to quantify, is like how much time they actually get to like effectively practice, effectively like prep for series. When in LPL, you're not only playing like every other day or every 2 days, you also have the travel of going to different stadiums. And thinking back to like my time team side as a coach, I have like imagining balancing that, balancing travel, balancing playing that often. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
I mean, I feel like the coaching job in LPL when you're traveling as much as a lot of the teams do. Chris does get a dredge line. Will he escape? No. Exhaust, flash, many summoners will walk away with his life, but flash on cooldown. I think you're taking that trade for FPX as they're looking for a red buff as well.
Yeah, they should be able to find this. Weiwei gonna have to default to taking away his Raptors. Oh god, can Weiwei end up with a steal for himself?
He got it.
And he does.
He actually got it. Oh, Hacker's in so much trouble. And the next flash answered by a flash. Hacker gets out, but no, the invader's gone completely pear-shaped.
All of that coming off the fact that Carried Prio in mid, right? He's able to escape freely because Care's able to cover. Xiaohu getting pushed in. But yeah, that invade not going the way you wanted it. Sure, you've lost flash of Nautilus, but Nautilus running Hex Flash. Just kind of go to a similar logic earlier that sure, as Hacker and as a jungler, you'd love your flash to come through, but not as like daring as if a laner could lose it. We'll see now if Weiwei can find something here, but Chocho and LWX doing their due diligence to try to find some early wards.
Yeah, Weiwei will just back off in the end, spotted on the ward just outside of Raptors as well as Crisp will clear things away. And Hacker, he's on catch-up duty now as this will only be his second camp, and Weiwei knows it. Weiwei knows he's got to be low right now. He's waiting around the ward onto the wolves, and he's found Hacker as well. He's going to bully Hacker at this point. Can't quite get him in sapling range, but Hacker, no flash available. He's just going to have to go back to base.
But like both mid and bot are going to be able to move first. Maybe, okay. Nice follow-ups by the members of Weibo, because both laners following so closely, they force these guys away. But man, how often do you see a Maokai invading a Sejuani at 3 minutes to look for the solo kill? Absolute chat energy coming from Weiwei.
The funny thing is, that's Maokai doing to Sejuani what Sejuani does to everyone, right? Like the early invades and the early pressure from the Sejuani just being completely thrown back at Hacker. Now Weiwei could go for the top scuttle. I don't think he'll be confident enough to actually just outright invade onto Hacker. That said, TheShy does have prio.
No, and it'd have to be another thing, like kind of looking at that mid lane where, again, if Xiaohu can kind of tether closely enough and at least keep that wave semi-thinned, maybe he can try and follow up closely enough to where a play would be able to come through from Weiwei, but not even going to opt into looking for it. Going to just keep finishing off his jungle. And you can even see with the fact that he started up Raptors, right, going to be able to get a little bit further ahead faster than Hacker will, and I wonder if he'll even be the one to find that other scuttle as well, because it would give him a nice advantage in this jungle matchup.
Certainly would. Really, really good start from Weiwei. And Weibo, so far so good. Remember, they are looking towards the later stages of the game with an Azir, a Jax, and an Aphelios. All three going to scale extremely well throughout this game. Side of FPX, though, you know, a lot of AD in their composition. That's the one worry I do have, is they really don't have any magic damage.
I guess the good thing is there isn't any like necessarily huge, obvious frontliner. Like, sure, Weiwei is going that route. I'll pause, but a Hacker's on a ward, so it's gonna be fine. But right, you're on a jungler. You're not gonna get as like gold as consistently as like if the enemy top laner was on a tank would. And also having access to those like some early Lord Dominics. I think in terms of damage, FPX should be fine. A lot of it's gonna come down to the ways and the positionings that fight's happening.
We'll see how those fights are going to occur later on into the game. But Weibo, the fact that they've been pushed to 3 games, honestly, is exciting. And it shows that Weibo is definitely not a team without weaknesses at the moment. I feel like I feel like Weibo is this team that they're almost like the new IG, which is maybe just because TheShy is on the team, but not in necessarily just the way they play, but more in that they will have fan support no matter what. Like, people love this team, and I think a lot of people at home believe this is a top 4 team purely on name value alone, and from the highlight reel moments. It's about consistency for Weibo. That's the big like battle that they have to fight over the course of this split.
Yeah,
is by the time playoffs comes around, can you consistently look good in the game? Crisp gonna step up to protect Light here in the dredge line, gets him out to safety. And yeah, whether or not Weibo can continue to improve over the course of the split, that's going to be the big question.
And yeah, it's kind of interesting where Weibo's at, because okay, Hacker's like living on a knife's edge right now, and it's making me feel like we're gonna get a fight. But I feel like a nice benefit for Weibo is you look at the top 4 outside of JDG and BLG, no one's really convincing. TS obviously, like, I don't know, their soul being sucked out of them when JDG 2-0'd them, and now, you know, losing to WE yesterday. OMG are becoming more convincing now in a 5-series win streak, so they, in my mind, might be that 3rd favorite to go to Worlds. But, like, WE haven't been all that convincing. They lost to TT. LNG obviously got 2-0'd by IG. RNG are on the up and up, but their roster doesn't have that name. I don't know. Like, who gets that 3rd and 4th spot? I don't know. It's true.
It's true. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea how good WE is anymore.
Same.
Like, the last few series, I have no clue which version of this team is going to show up on any given day. Like, WE is the ultimate enigma right now in the LPL, and I'm here for it. I love it when we get a team like that just anything can happen on the day. Xiaohu knocks Care underneath the mid lane tower and completely denies the attempt from Hacker.
Doesn't let the gank come through, but also shows why it's going to be hard for the Tristan to be punished, as both top laners utilizing the ults. We'll see if Xiaohu has any confidence in following this one up with this Q3.
I think he's going to get the option. Now, TheShy doing a really good job to dissuade the all-in there. The all-out, should I say, from Xiaoalaohu.
Munch, I know it's not relevant to the series, but I want to go back to the WE talk. Just that I feel like WE are going to be that team that against like teams like JDG and BLG are going to get crushed, but they're going to default to the ultimate slow style. They're going to default to the ultimate draft for scaling team fight, do absolutely nothing for like the whole game like we saw against top esports, and teams that can't get like a 5k gold lead in the first, you know, 10-15 minutes are going to lose to them, and teams that can are just going
like
to get absolutely crushed.
Gatekeeper.
Where
it's like, how good are your early game fundamentals? If you have to be you have to be like 1.5 meters of early game fundamentals to enter.
Exactly.
WE, the roller coaster, if you will, of the LPL, but not in an emotional way, just in a. Yeah, I don't know. This analogy's falling apart. Yeah, I agree though fundamentally with what you're saying. Is FPX, you know, showing some early game fundamentals of themselves as they get a Herald. How exciting.
Now we're going to want to see them push the pace of this. It's just the fact that they have this Tristana. We can see them wanting to angle around TheShy for now, and Chocho is up towards the top side. I'm a bit surprised that Hacker's showing so early. And just committing to the full-on lane swap. So this would typically indicate that they would have wanted to stay around, try and like commit for the kill, use Herald right off the bat. And it also means they're dodging out in terms of the 2v2 in bot and the 1v1 in top. But with Hacker showing so early, not really going to be able to get anything off of this.
Light and Crisp going to move up to the top side as well here, as the bot lane from FPX immediately start recalling, and you can see the change of direction from Weibo's bot lane as well. They're going to head towards that bottom side. So Xiaoalaohu, essentially all that's happened is he gets a bit of solo time on a tower. I don't know if he... Hang on, the recall, yeah. Cancelled, and TheShy spots it. Pops over to his minion wave. And now the jig is up. Everyone knows what's going on as Light arrives on the bottom lane. Hacker still in the area as well with that Herald, but TheShy, he's not going to let this minion wave anywhere near the tower. Does not want to risk the dive and realizes he's done what he needs to do.
Yeah, like I like the extended swap, right? Because usually it's just for the Herald, but typically, like, you move your bot laners back down to start cementing control for the next dragon that'll spawn. That's still 3 minutes away, so they have the ability to look for these plays towards topside. They're going to commit to it. And right, K'Sante, I think, much better and like safer at being able to dodge out on dives in 1v2 scenarios than a Jax should be able to. So nice plays by FPX to maybe set themselves up in more favorable situations, but it's all going to come down to when Hacker decides to use this Herald. Mid would be nice since you're going up against an Azir that has so much wave clear. You can tell the other option he's pondering is if they can actively get this gank off against TheShy, because they keep leaning back up towards topside. Yeah. TheShy's just not giving them the chance.
I feel like Hacker has spent so much of this game like almost making plays, almost going into lanes. Like he constantly wants to make the play happen. TheShy the target here, and Chocho coming in from behind the tower. Minion wave arrives to make the play kick off, but they can't really commit. And the minion wave arriving means TheShy could always get out of this one should he need to. And it turns out it'll just be the singular plate taken in the end as TheShy clears the wave. Weiwei arriving, clears the vision. And once again, Hacker goes to that top lane, and once again, he can't really make it stick.
I think there's a lack of confidence in pulling the trigger, because right when they were looking to make the play, both Xiaohu and Chris weren't showing on the map. Sure, Light is showing in mid lane, but it's like Weiwei and Chris could be making their way up. They don't necessarily know that Xiaohu's committing down towards going and answering that K'Sante. So they opt into not pulling the trigger, but it just means Hacker's going to have to use this Herald in the next, 10, 15 seconds to try to find something. I already said when there's an Azir and like that amount of wave clear, I think it is quite nice to be able to break down the mid lane turret with Herald, but bot is also incredibly close to going down. So it looks like that's actually what the FPX game plan is for now, especially with LWX off this reset, picking up his Kraken Slayer.
This is maybe the most lane swaps I've seen in an early game this year. Light now returning to that bottom lane as Xiaohu maybe going back to the mid lane. I feel like we have been all over the map. But it's FPX leading that charge, consistently finding plates off of these swaps, whereas Weibo have just been sweeping up waves. And LWX now gets the benefit of all of this back and forth. 170, honestly, all of this for 175 gold.
This is a lot more reminiscent of like what you see in battle games these days. Me and you, huge Valorant esports fans of like the mid-rounding, rotating back and forth, pulling the enemy apart. But now we might finally see the side exec come online from FPX.
For God's sake. They're playing in an extremity. Not good from Chocho, but they're going to just get caught by the root. It's a first blood going the way of Chocho, actually, as Weiwei flashes underneath the tower. That should be enough to finish this tower off. LWX will be very happily the benefactor of all of this, is he'll get the first tower of the game. And Weibo falling pretty dramatically behind in gold at this point.
Well, and this is why when we were in picks and bans, I was so like, what's Xiaohu gonna pick? What's Xiaohu gonna pick? Because Xiaohu's only played like one scaling control mage all split. He played one game of Victor. His most plays are Annie, Gragas, Jace, and you're moving to like Ahri, Syndra. Just, this isn't really how Weibo played the game. You can see beautiful flash by Light, but it's not enough to stop the engage and the pick potential to come through from the side of FPX, who have so much CC to set up for the follow-through. And me and you both kind of hinted at that we liked, with the teams and us knowing their identities, we liked the side for FPX and how the draft ended up. Again, I still just am a Tristana believer. I won't count Weibo out. They have tons of damage in the late game, right? They have an Aphelios and an Azir for themselves. They have some great peel as well coming from Emperor's Divide, and then the ult coming out from Weiwei. Jax is going to be more of a threat. The problem is just like the lack of confidence in seeing them be able to do this so far, this split.
Yeah, see how it's going to work out for them. Later on, I feel like it could be down to a mojo diff. Like those individual plays of, can you find flanks on the Jax? Can you find side lane pressure on the Jax? Can you find the big Azir moment for Xiaohu, Light with the big Moonlight Vigil? Like those kind of moments are going to be defining for Weibo. But, a team that really has had a lot of mojo so far this split is FPX. This is a team that really have had some crazy games. They've had some crazy moments. I mean, Xiaoalaohu showing us that 1v3 in the previous game of the K'Sante on that back line. LWX as well has had plenty of great moments. I feel like this is a game that could come down to individual heroics.
I agree. And, you know, when you're talking about those individual heroics coming out for Weibo, one thing I'm scared about is, like, some of the range, right? Like, casters talked for years about, like, the Jinx against the Xiaoalaohu, but even Tristana and the amount of range that she's going to bring to the table, so you're not just going to be able to rely on, like, Xiaohu trying to force them out. They are going to have to look for some of these proactive plays, and you're doing that into a champion like a Braum. So I definitely think for Weibo, it's going to be, like, trying to force out summoners first, you know, kind of go for one of those light posturings, maybe set up a bit of a trap, get flash from Care or LWX, and then the big play coming out from someone like Xiaohu with an Emperor's Divide really can be the difference maker, because you can see right now, they just aren't really confident in trying to pull the trigger into FPX.
Certainly not. FPX will get their second Herald. It's a Drake piece so far, with the next one not up for another 3 minutes. And we'll see if Hacker can find his Herald window a little more easily this time around. Last time we had a whole 5-minute section of scuffling around the map to try and find the target. This time though, top tier 1 tower looking awfully juicy, but actually Herald not even needed for this one. We've got Care on the Tristana with Demolish and a Static Shiv. He'll make short work of towers.
Really will, and he's going to feel comfortable in this 1v1. And I feel like we've been selling really hard on, like, our favoritism of FPX. And you know me, Munch, I love to come off as a biased caster, so I just want to let the world know. At the start of spring, I predicted Weibo winning Worlds this year. There's no team I want to do better than Weibo, except Rare Adam if they start Mole. But they aren't starting Mole, so Weibo are at the top of my list. Just, yeah, for Weibo, I mean, we saw how it went in game 1, even with, like, how they were team fighting in that game. There really just hasn't been one of their big specialties so far this split.
Yeah.
I do like that they've been willing to, like, give things up, play a bit more around defensive vision, and give a bit of time for people like TheShy to be able to put threat down in that bot lane. But we can see now they're starting to get pressured, and they're going to have to look for this.
TP gonna come on through. Herald doesn't even need to charge. It's gonna go for the second tower instead, but the solo laners are behind enemy lines here. Oh, knocked back. Care denies the swoop and boop as Xiaoalaohu trying to deny the rest of the team coming on in. The Sand Soldiers are there to buy space for the team as in they charge, but health bar still low, and Light taking over the wall needs support and gets it from his teammates, but Xiaohu goes down in the meantime. And now TheShy chased out. Counter-Strike comes in onto Care. No way does he turn that around. Double kill for LWX as TheShy is shut out of the play.
And the big thing for the side of FPX is it's tragic that Baron isn't up, because this would have been an easy Baron for their side. We saw exactly how this composition wants to work out. You have the Braum doing so much to be able to peel for this one. Honestly, Light is lucky he didn't end up going down with how low he was after Xiaoalaohu took him over that wall. And we're really seeing everything we want to out of FunPlus Phoenix. Weibo thinking they find the opportunity to find this flank. At first looks all right. Care sends Xiaohu away, but it's like, all right, maybe TheShy can get the pick, but good buffering from Care. And now look here, K'Sante buying a lot of space, and look at Braum and just him tagging people with his passive doesn't allow TheShy to be able to run Care down. You get Light taking over the wall, sadly not able to follow through with him, but it's really the Sejuani and the Braum. Kind of separating TheShy, not allowing Xiao to come in, and then just setting up for the Jinx and Tristana to really take over.
Until Weibo just have way more damage, this is going to be impossible. Like, Chocho on the Braum, Xiaoalaohu on the K'Sante, and Hacker on the Sejuani. They're just an invincible brick wall that Weibo have to try and find their way through. You can see Light trying to get the damage through. Xiaohu as well. After having to use the ultimate defensively instead of aggressively like he wanted. Great ult by Care to deny that. It felt like an impossible fight almost. It's TheShy just trying to make individual heroics happen on the back line.
I feel like it's not even a brick wall. It's like you break a brick wall and then there's like a steel wall, and then behind that there is like Munch. What's stronger than steel? Name something. Munch, help me out.
The human spirit. There's a wall of human spirit behind it. Fly, Phoenix, fly.
Which one of Chocho? No, actually, no. Chocho has to be the human spirit in my mind. With just the way that Chocho's played throughout his career of being like that absolute balls to the wall type of player for a lot of his stint on like Rogue Warriors AL, Chocho is the defining part of human spirit. Thank you so much.
I agree. Great to see. The Human Spirit coming out on top so far in this one. Human Spirit currently has a 5,000 gold lead. And a bonus Drake on top of it. Great little start. And also the tier 2 taken down to the mid lane. Opens up a lot of space for them to go for deeper vision now.
Yeah, and right, when a lot of times when you talk about like pushing for deeper vision, things like that, you're like, okay, well, who's going to be able to face check? Literally anyone from the side of FPX. They can just walk in, get their vision down. Especially Chocho having the safety of that W to be able to jump away too. We see LWX.
I love this.
I love, yeah, highlighting.
It's
the
Chris
former,
and LWX on the split
lovers.
screen.
LWX coming out of base with 2.5 items in pocket, so even just having that lead over Light, I feel like this would be one of the big difference makers in fights to come.
FPX now posturing around the Baron. They look like they want to try and start that off if they can find a pick. I mean, they've got the gold lead to do it. If Weibo fight them, they do need to find that opportunity first, though. I'm not sure they can just outright start the Baron. But then again, it's kind of hard for Weibo to check into them. Maybe they can just start things as TheShy moving over here, but they'll just back away. They'll be okay on this one.
Yeah, you really have, I'd say, two clear options as FPX, which is they can kind of keep playing the map very okay, I'm going to pause because they actually want to fight this.
Trying to find a pick around vision, but weiwei forced to flash away. That's Hacker's ultimate on cooldown, which is really the primary engage tool.
Yeah, so it does seem like they're going to play the style of like, don't go for anything that isn't absolutely assured. They still can kind of poke their head for picks if Weibo overstep. But at the same time, they feel fine just waiting out even things like the Infernal Drake. And sure, you're then giving Weibo time, which I feel like is something you do need to be worried about. But you're also going to be the team controlling vision. Like, no flank orbs able to come through when you're the ones kind of pushing out through all these lanes. And I feel like it's going to be really hard for Weibo to even ever find a time to set up, you know, a play, even if this game continues to stall.
Yeah, and I feel like you and I have been a little memey across the course of this series. As it is, to be honest, it's been a little bit of a memey series. However, I do just want to remind everyone that this is like Weibo Gaming currently 5-3 in the standings. Like, if they lose this series, they will be very much just middle of the table. This will no longer be a team that's really fighting for that top 6 anymore. And it's the opposite for FPX. If they can win this series, looking convincing as well, like 2 really good games coming out from them, it changes the face of expectations for both of these teams in the LPL.
I feel like especially for the side of FPX, who currently going to look for a pick, but going to be spotted out. Because, you know, we talked about after top 2, it looks very like a mishmash of who else can go to Worlds. The same thing for like the bottom of our playoffs standings. Like NIP, EDG, not convincing.
Here we go, Hook's coming on through. Chocho tanking on the front line. Is he tanky enough, though? Xiaoalaohu behind enemy lines as TheShy threatens the rest of FPX. Xiaoalaohu can't go in by himself. Crisp holding the way for now as Care retreats once again. Weibo have found themselves a pick. What can they do with it?
They're going to try and force their way forwards. 3 ults were used by the side of Weibo, so you don't have great turn potential if you did want to start up Baron, because no Maokai ult, same for the Nautilus. So it doesn't seem like they're going to look for anything too big off of this. They're just going to accept, you know, the bit of gold injection they get for taking down Chocho.
And also just being able to clear vision around that Baron, right? At least now FPX don't have the stranglehold around Baron, at least for the next minute or so. I mean, just an attempt to burn through weiwei. He is damn tanky, though.
And we saw it, like, even LWX kind of playing off around that side the whole time. Maybe they could have been able to take him down, because it doesn't look like he was getting in as many autos as he could, but he did respect the TP coming out from TheShy. So a lot of fear from, you know, a counter, like, leap into the Counter-Strike going on to him. So I can understand backing off a little bit. And we're going to see now FPX just able to cement control back around this Baron side. I still don't have any hope that FPX are going to go for any, like, Baron baits or flips. But with Dragon coming up... True. Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. That's what I want to see, Munch.
They've stopped his recall by 8 seconds there. I don't think they can do anything with it, but it was a good shot.
It was. Just being an absolute annoyance. Like cockroaches or Twinkies.
Weird pairing there.
Twinkies, very annoying to have in your house if you don't enjoy them.
In my head.
Also, two things that, you know, I know might be a logical fallacy, but they say will survive nuclear explosions.
Twinkies will?
Is that true? I don't know, but I've heard it.
Huh.
That's your learning lesson with Lyric today. You're welcome.
We don't have Twinkies in my country. We have Yum Yums, which are delicious.
They sound better, actually. Much better branding.
They're essentially just donuts, but they're long instead and twisted and delicious. Weibo looking like a bit of a donut right here as they are posturing around Baron, but losing the Drake. That's going to be sole point for FPX. And, you know, pastry may be delicious, but this macro is not delicious from Weibo, that's for sure.
No, just kind of being left by the wayside now. Care going to show up in bot lane. So this might give Weibo a bit of confidence to start up and engage.
Uh-oh, Xiaolahu, has he gone too far? No, he's Cassante. He just takes a small chunk of his health bar and walks away comfortably. As Weibo are like, you know what? We're border scaling. Cares on the bottom side, threatening a tier 2. Let's start Baron, try and force this TP out. And there it is. TP comes on through. They're just going to 50-50, aren't they? 3K on the Baron right now as the team fight kicks off. Xiaolahu on the front line. Hacker's low on the back of the pit as well. And this is working out. The long-range carries paying dividends for Weibo. Hacker forced out and taken down. LWX falls as well. And Weibo have blown this game wide open. It looked so good for FPX the entire game long. But now taken apart at the nth hour.
And I just can't believe FPX not able to find this one. The encirclement from Weibo, not one single member going down. You said it'd probably come down to one big team fight where Mojo's involved. And it definitely looked like that coming from Weibo, who now with this Baron buff are really going to start to be able to barrel ahead with a gold advantage. We see here Weibo, the ones to start off, Sejuani ult going wide, and then the Maokai ult getting a ton of value to prevent anyone from coming on through. And look, by the time Care gets involved, all the frontliners of FPX are already down to half HP. And then Xiaohu with the big play that you wanted to see, Munch. Really being the difference maker. And right, when you have fights like this, where both sides do have two carries that like scale really well and team fights are defined by that, even just those like 3 to 4 seconds without the Tristana, Xiaolahu, Hacker, Chocho, they were all already half HP and not the same damage able to be put in response by Weibo. I even feel like the difference maker being like Weibo being on objective first and you seeing things like the Maokai ultimate be able to find great value, locking down 3 to 4 members.
I'm so glad they didn't flip it as well. Like, Weibo actually playing that very intelligently. Xiaohu, massive moment on the Azir. That's why they call him the Birdman. Well, they don't yet. I'm hoping it'll catch on. So, guys, start. If you could start calling him the Birdman, that'd be great. Xiaohu.
Oh, he's gone?
Oh, no.
He's not the Birdman, Munch.
He's not the Birdman. He's absolutely not the Birdman. Chris gonna be knocked back as well. What just happened?
What is going on?
They got Baron.
Well, they don't have Baron anymore, at least on 2 members. And now FPX gonna try and utilize these death timers, gonna try to utilize the fact that they can at least break open the base. Baroned up minions with a pretty decent frontline might be enough for Weibo to dissuade, but Lights hasn't gotten off his base yet.
This is going to be at least one inhibitor. They might be able to finish the game, but the Shy, Light, Weiwei all here should be enough to hold on to the game for now. I don't know how we're in a position where Weibo are holding on to the game after the fact they just won a fight cleanly and got Baron, and then just kind of walked into them.
Yeah, Xiaohu trying to put off as much damage as possible here and just gives the opportunity over. Cassante able to use that full combo to not only get the Crown of the Shattered Queen shield down, but then CC him in. And now FPX, you know, this is when you hit the go button. Just try to run down as many members of Weibo as possible. Xiaohu, the timing on Xiaohu stepping too far forward, and you asking about the Birdman. Peak, peak.
He's not the Birdman, he's the man bird. It's true. Disappointing, right? You know, it's just funny that it was his heroics that won that previous fight. It's he giveth, he taketh, you know, which is kind of funny because I don't feel like Xiaohu has ever had that reputation of being like a flippy player. You know, he's not usually the feast or famine player, usually quite consistent.
Yeah.
But steps too far forward, just the one time. Now 3 items though on him, 3 items on Care as well, and the AD carries. We are getting to that point where scaling has come online for both sides.
And I mean, right, when you're at points like this, even if we talk about like the peel from sides of like Braum or damage coming through, really like one misstep like we saw from Xiaohu before is what's going to decide this game. Flashes down pretty much across the board. 4 carries on both sides. Oh, TheShy putting up so much threat.
Yeah, Xiaohu as well, being really aggressive with those soldiers. And rightly so, because Weibo, they can't afford to lose mid-prio here. Drake coming up in 16 seconds, and it would be sold for FPX. Weibo absolutely have to maintain prio here. They have to fight for river control and fight for this Drake.
And I like that Care does the pivot towards bot to make sure at least the lane can start pushing and maybe give them another entry point if Weibo can keep controlling this way into river. Both compositions love when they are being run into, so the fact that Weibo are the ones with this position has been a pretty good spot.
So hook onto Xiaoalaohu, which isn't the ideal target, but Weibo, they've got control. I will say they've got no buildings in their mid lane, so FPX can't really threaten the mid lane push. Instead, Drake will be taken here. Weibo played it well so far. Do they want the fight? Root's going to come on through with Xiaoalaohu on that front line, buffers it for his team. The Roots might get them out here. Hacker finds the engage onto weiwei. He flashes back to the rest of his team. Pulled back in, though, and will go down. FPX find a pick off the back of it.
Oh,
and now TPs into the base. Can they end in time? Xiaohu sliding across the map as Light is barreling towards the base as well. Xiaohu's got to make a miracle happen. Still has the Empress Divide. Could just push the minion wave away if necessary. Replaces the tower that fell. And Weibo will hold on.
This is one of the most tense games of the split so far, and I would have never expected it to come between Weibo and FPX. Crisp and LWX really going at it, and it's LWX for now, helping push down these turrets into the base.
Xiaohu finds a moment once again, finds the target. Xiaohu taken down. The better Tiger wins it out, but falls down in the end. Just TheShy dives onto the backline. Almost finishes LWX. It's Light, it's Crisp, alive. weiwei respawning. They've held on for now. weiwei almost has his roots available if they want to try and find a fight. Green and purple weapons, not ideal.
No, and with Care still here and Care being so healthy, I feel like that's why they feel really confident about looking for this. But it's all going to be about Light, what he's able to do.
That's Infernum! They're all grouped up, he's got Infernum, and he's going to burn through the whole team! Care, though, popping off on the opposite side, trying to end the game, jumps straight on towards Light, but Light turns it around, no!
It's over!
Finally falls in the end! Care's got 1 HP! weiwei doesn't have any damage, and the Nexus is bare! weiwei is buying time, because Xiaohu's up in just 5 seconds, and Care doesn't have the damage to actually finish the game here! Xiaohu respawns, home guard, flashes forward, and finds Care! He saves the game!
How is this game so back and forth between these teams? Care was so close, and there's so many questions that have to be going through your mind. If like Care had just kept autoing the Nexus, if Care maybe never started autoing the Nexus and was there to take down the Aphelios, there are so many different ways that could have panned out, and we are kind of back once again, Munch. It is anyone's game.
Look, Lyric, when I said this would come down to mojo, I didn't realize it was going to be this much mojo.
And it's like here where, like you said, he goes in, has the Infernum, able to finish his off, and I don't really want to break this down. It's more questions of right, had Care been there, maybe you kill Light faster, maybe one other person survives, you'd be able to end, maybe the reverse, if you keep autoing the Nexus, you end. I feel like these are the types of big questions that are going to kind of be looming here for FPX. I guess not looming if they're able to take the next fight, but Weibo so lucky that Xiaohu able to make it up in time to make sure that the base is saved. Well played by Light, well played by Care to get so much work done for both sides.
Man, the 80 carries question mark on either side popping off. Care may not be an 80 carry, but he is an 80 carry, if that makes any sense. 11 to 11. TheShy making sure that he has a way to TP back should it be necessary. That self-ward in the base. As Weibo now trying to threaten. No TPs available for FPX as of right now, but Xiaoalaohu will be back up shortly.
And now the siege starts once again, but look at Care, gets side lanes in order. Didn't have TP this time, so if any engage came out, Weibo would be favored, but I like it. Back up a little bit, give this turret up, and let Care rejoin, which, speaking of, he has a stopwatch.
Oh, it's a hook. Chocho the target. I don't know if that's really the target they want to go for. The Braum escapes with his life. Moonlight Vigil across the team. It's a knock-up as well. Weibo have kind of used everything, and they're still going for the play. Hacker the target here, but Weiwei's going to go down too. Jungler for jungler is TheShy. Jumps back into the fray again. The counter-strike is there. Xiaolahu behind enemy lines now. This is the moment, but Xiaohu going to use LWBG survives though, and Crisp will fall. FPX have done it.
FPX with the huge team fight to be able to take the game. Gonna deliver a loss to Weibo. Gonna move their way up and put themselves in the playoff picture.
Such a confident fight from Weibo, but FPX happy to take the front to back and care. 7-1 and 6 to finish things out. FPX deliver a massive upset to Weibo.
Great from them, great by LWX, who I'm sure a lot of people, maybe even himself, right, at times, you look at like the split of him and Chris constantly finding these like big name teammates to where LWX being built around with either like players from like lower